Hello, everybody. This is Massa Washington, and welcome to the Massa Washington Show. Today is the second episode of our show, and I'm glad to be back with you. I will be providing you with some important information and also, hopefully, some entertainment as well. I'm glad to be doing this, and I would like to say a big thank you to all of my viewers from the first show, the first episode last week. Thank you for everybody who took the time off to watch my videos thus far. Thank you for all the comments. The comments were positive. Uh, a lot of you inbox me some suggestions, which I'm looking into, and hopefully, I will be considering some of your suggestions for how I can improve the show. Thank you very much. Thank you for tuning in today, and let's do this. Today on the show, I will be looking at four topics. Of course, you know, the latest breaking news in Liberia is the ongoing presidential and legislative national elections. And up to last week, the first round of the elections is over. And we have, of course, as predicted by a lot of people, we have the two most formidable candidates, former Vice President Joseph Boyka and also current incumbent President George Manuel Weah going off in the runoff. And I will also be looking at the House of the Liberian legislature. The voters seem to have cleaned house. And by cleaning house, I mean they actually gave a lot of people the boot. And we're going to be looking into it as well. And I will also be talking about uh, the situation with former Vice President Joseph Boyka and his nephew, Henry Costa. And we'll be discussing the latest video that the young Henry Costa has made recently that some people are calling a confession that he and others connived to destroy the CPP because they wanted to eliminate the chances of Mr. Alexander Cummings in favor of Vice President Joseph Boyka. And of course, being an ardent animal lover, I pulled up a feel good story for you from the internet that I will be sharing with you. It is a good story, but then it also has some sadness to it. But on the overall, it's a story of an amazing dog called Eclipse, and I will be sharing that with you as well. So relax, get your popcorn, and be with me for the next 1 hour. Thank you very much. Of course, the first round of the Liberian general elections, presidential and also legislative elections is over. And the National Elections Commission, which is that body that is responsible to conduct all the elections, has declared that former Vice President Joseph Boyka and current President George Manuel Weah will be heading for a runoff in early November. So as you can see from my screen here, the first round of the elections was very close. Uh, President Weah is in the lead with 796,513 votes, representing 43.43%, and following very closely on the heels of the president is the former vice president, Joseph Boyka of the Unity Party, who who has rather 796,513 votes, representing 43% of the vote. Actually, President Weah has 43.84% of the vote, and Vice President Boyka has 43.43% of the votes. And following is this mystery man, everyone refers to as a mystery man, Mr. Edward Appleton Jr. He got 40,262 of the entire national votes, amounting to 2.20%. And of course, Lucini Camara of ALCO got 35,984 votes, amounting to 1.96% of the overall average. So the both campaigns, that is the two front runners, the current president Weah, and also Joseph Boyka, they say, in their different camps with their different political parties, trying to see how they can end up the winner at the end of the day. But there has been a lot of analysis of the just ended elections by other broadcasters and talk shows and the national media as well. So I will not go into a full analysis of the entire election. That is, I'm not going to go into all the 15 counties and every polling or Princeton. I would just go into what I am duping the three battleground counties. So I will be looking at those counties, and I will be looking at what is at stake for both of the candidates. And also I will be giving some suggestions or prediction as to what either of the candidates can do to cross that hurdle and hopefully become the next president of the Republic of Liberia. So Montserrado County, of course, garnered the most votes because, of course, Montserrado County is the capital city. It is the most populated county in Liberia. So Montserrado County, the overall vote cast in Montserrado County, according to the National Elections Commission's NEC, was 719,538 votes that were cast, meaning that this number represents the people who came out. And out of that number, Vice President Joseph Boyka of the Unity Party got 322,166, representing 46.49% of that vote in Montserrado County. Incumbent President George Weah came very close second with 319,366 votes, amounting to 46.8% of the overall national votes. That's the votes in the Montserrado County. And so the total vote cast in Montserrado County was 692,999 votes. But the invalid votes in Montserrado County alone has been tallied at 26,539 votes, invalid votes. So I'm referring to these invalid votes as critical numbers because when you have an elections that is so close, to have these kinds of numbers of invalid votes, it becomes critical for both campaigns, the former Vice President Joseph Boyka and also incumbent President George Manning Weah. So let's go to Magibi County. Magibi County, for me, is the other battleground county, meaning that um, even though Ambassador Boycott came out as the winner in the first round for Magibi County, but it is still pretty much up for grabs. That is, if President Weah, works a little bit harder. So in Magibi County, the total votes cast in Magibi County was 143,605 votes. Those were the total votes cast, meaning votes that were accepted and votes that were considered invalid, meaning that something happened and legally they couldn't accept those votes. So Vice President Boyka came out with 63,431 of those votes, giving him 47.8% of the total. President Weah of the CDC had 56,272 of the votes from Magibi County, giving him a percentage point of 41.76% of the vote. So the total valid votes then for Magibi County is actually 134,741 valid votes. The invalid votes for Magibi County is 8,864 invalid votes. Again, I am referring to these votes as critical numbers and critical votes that either of the two candidates will need a significant numbers or a significant number rather to be able to get over the hump. So the next county that I have signaled out as a must-have a battleground county is Bong County. Bong County is located in central Liberia and is very strategic. The current vice president of Liberia, Her Excellency Joel Howard Taylor, is from Bong County, and we have had many distinguished Liberians from Bong County. So the overall vote cast in Bong County, that is votes that were legally acceptable and also the votes that were not legally acceptable. So those total votes in Bong County came out to 192,373 and percentage point 81.94%. And out of those votes, President George Weah got 77,184 ballots, amounting to 43.99% of the vote. Again, former Vice President Ambassador Joseph Boyka came very close. He had 67,383%, 67,383 of the votes, amounting to 38.33% of the vote. Now, of this total number, the total valid votes is 175,795. And again, the invalid votes is 16,578. So you can see here how crucial it is going to be for the both competitors, because the elections is very close and too close to call, meaning that this is anybody's elections. President Weah is leading the national polls, but just by a slim majority. Former Vice President Joseph Boyka is closely on the heels of President Weah. So what does it mean for these invalid votes? So when you combine all of the invalid votes that came from Montserrado County, that is the 26,539 votes, invalid votes from Montserrado County, added to the invalid votes from Maigibi County, which is 8,864, added to the invalid votes from Bond County, which is 16,578, you have a whopping number of 51,981 votes. Again, like I stated earlier, for a small country that had less than 3 million people actually voting, and for a race that is so close, that is highly competitive, to have 51,981 votes not counted for so many different reasons is an issue of concern. So what this says here is that all is not lost. What this says is that the candidates will have to re-strategize the voters' education. I know it's just a couple of weeks before the runoff elections, but people still have some time to go in these areas and do some voters' educations and educate people on how to vote properly, because you will need a significant amount of votes from this 51,981 votes. That is, if these people come back to vote and they still don't understand how to vote and they vote wrongly, you're going to be losing a lot of the votes that could come to you. And I'm talking about either side. It could be for President Weah, it could be for Vice President Joseph Boyka. So you need to go back out there and re-educate your voters on how to vote, what to look for when they get the ballot paper, so that they vote properly, so that you don't lose any vote, because every vote is crucial and every vote counts. And also, for these three counties that I've selected to focus on, in my estimation, each of the candidates will need at least 55.5 to 60% of the votes in these battleground counties to be able to pull this off. So if President Weah is going to retain his place as president of Liberia for another 6 years, President Weah will have to get, in the second round, he will have to get at least 55.5 to 60% of the votes in Bond County. And same thing goes for Maigibi County. Same thing goes for Montserrado County if he must win. The same thing goes for Vice President Boyka. If Vice President Boyka must be the president, he will have to get at least, in my estimation, 55.5% to 60% of the votes in these battleground must have counties. And I'm calling these counties the must have counties. You must win these counties, meaning that you must win these counties in terms of a significant amount of the votes. If not, sorry, it's going to be tough. The reason I focus on these three counties is because the way Liberians have voted and the way the voting has gone. All of the southeastern counties overwhelmingly voted for President George Weah, from Grand Juliet to Sino, Grand Crew, River G, Maryland, they all voted for President Weah. Nimba County, which has lots of votes, voted overwhelmingly for Vice President Joseph Boyka. And of course, Montserrado was almost a tie. It was very tight. um, Vice President Boycott, came out on top in the end, but that lead is so slim to the point where, it can tilt at any moment. And of course, he took the lead in the McKinney County, and President Weah took the lead in Bond County. Vice President Boyka, of course, won the counties in the Western region. Of course, his home county of Lufau, and he won Bapolu. Then he won Bomi County, and then he won Grand Cape Mount County. When I say he won, I mean he had the highest number of votes in these areas. But people didn't expect President Weah to do well in Lofa County because that is the home county of Vice President Joseph Boyka. But what was shocking with all of this is that Ambassador Weah actually won the majority of the votes in Foya, Lofa County, which is the home place of Vice President Joseph Boyka. That's where he was born, and apparently that's where his navel string was buried. But Weah was able to break through that wall, and Weah won Foya. But on the overall, Vice President Boyka won Lofa County. And Weah was also able to extend his shock wave in the central Liberia, that is to Grand Bassa County and Riverside County. Weah won Grand Bassa and Riverside. People were not really expecting him to win Grand Bassa and Riverside counties. It's because you have a formidable female senator in person of Senator Yongle Kanga Lawrence, who is a political force to be reckoned with. And she is with the Unity Party coalition. So she's supporting the ticket of Vice President Joseph Boyka and his vice presidential pick, Jeremiah Cohn. So everybody was expecting and hoping that with Yongle on board supporting Boyka, that she would have delivered Grand Bassa County to the Unity Party and also Riverside County, but that didn't happen. But again, anything can happen in the second round. She could pull it off, or we could be lucky again. So at this time, I will go to my next topic, which is the House of Legislature. That is the Liberian legislature. It seems like the voters did a cleanup. It looks like the broom that presidential candidate Councillor Tiamonse Gonglo has, that he was passing all around the town with, it looked like the voters, they stole that broom from behind him and they swept house. Because some big names were kicked out of office in the House of Senate and also the House of Representatives of the Liberian Parliament. I have decided not to go into all of the names that were kicked out of office in the legislature. I have decided, what I did was I just selected a few names that I thought were important and relevant to what I do, the nature of my work, and also to how they have represented themselves and also the constituents that they were supposed to be representing or fighting for. So I'm a former commissioner of the Liberian Truth and Reconciliation Commission. I serve on the commission, and I'm a strong advocate for the full implementation of the commission's recommendations that were given at the end of our work. And one of those recommendations is we have several accountability recommendations, but one of the strongest accountability recommendations is the recommendation for a war crimes court to prosecute those who were found to be most liable for the gross violations of human rights that took place in Liberia. And some of these legislators whose names I'm going to call, who I'm going to present to you in this show today are those legislators that we call the anti-accountability legislators, meaning that they were against or they are against the TRC completely. They are completely also against the implementation of the TRC recommendations, and they are against the recommendations for a war crimes code. So these legislators, and senators, some of them who were kicked out of office by the voters, conspired. They were led by former warlord Prince Johnson, who is noted in the TRC final report as the most notorious perpetrator, and also, unfortunately, former senator now, Komini B. Wise from River G. So sometimes in 2000, I think it was 2000 and I think 2020, 2021 rather, Komini Wise, who calls himself the transitional justice guru at the legislature at the time, connived with Prince Johnson, Buffer Chambers, and other legislators to come out with a bogus transitional justice or draft transitional justice commission legislation that they were trying to pass to circumvent the TRC. That is, they wanted to replace, or should I say, they want to replace the TRC final report by this bogus transitional justice commission that they were proposing. And in that proposal, they actually suggested that the Republic of Liberia review and investigate the TRC commissioners and TRC staff as per our work. Who were those at the forefront of it? Like I said, Komini Wise, who is now former senator of River G County because he was kicked out. Prince Johnson, and a couple of them. So the document that you see on the screen here is actually the cover of the report. I have a copy of the report, but this is just the cover of the report of this bogus transitional justice committee or commission that we were putting together to replace the TRC. So this is the cover of it. And the second page here is the signature page of all these so-called senators who were working against the interests of the TRC. So what they did was, after they wrote their bogus document, and they all signed it. And they actually came up with this bogus idea of a transitional justice commission because President Weah had asked them to advise him on the way forward regarding the implementation of the TRC recommendations. So President Weah actually conceded his authority as the president of Liberia, who is responsible to implement the recommendations of the TRC. Instead of that, he passed on his work to the legislature and asked them to advise him on what to do, what's the way forward. And so it played into the hands of notorious warlord Prince Johnson, and of course, Komini Wise, who was there protecting the interests of Ellen. Ellen is like a political mentor to him. And then you have Senator Maurice Setuma, another Ellen son. So you have all these people with all these different interests there blocking the implementation of the TRC's recommendations. So this is the signature page of these people who are refusing to give the Liberian people justice and accountability for what happened to them. And most of these people have been kicked out of office today. That's what I said. The national legislature, the voters of the Republic of Liberia actually did a cleanup. They went on a cleanup campaign to get these people out of office. So, uh, I would also like to speak about Councillor Tiaje, not Councillor Tiaje, rather, Milton Tiaje, former senator of Sando County. He was not part of the TRC yo-yo whatsoever. He also does not support the TRC, but he was not part of the Senate leadership that, did that. But the reason TRJ is important here is because TRJ was a senator who was accused by a lady from the United States by the name of Patient or Patricia, I think, of I'm sorry, I'm not going to be diplomatic about this. She accused him of stealing her car. So the story goes that this played out in the media, was all on the internet everywhere. The local media, newspapers, radio stations, they all reported on it very widely. This lady also made a video on him for what he allegedly did to her. So the story goes that this lady had a BMW SUV, and she was trying to send it to Liberia for her father, but she was also coming to Liberia to see her father, her family, but she was sending a car ahead. So she was friends or is friends with former Senator Milton Tiaje's brother. And so the brother advised her, said, well, let's talk to my brother and see if he can help you by allowing you to use his legislative, privilege, because they all have duty-free privilege. And so the lady and Tiaje's brother contacted him, and he agreed for the lady to ship the car to him in his name, so that when he got there, he would clear it from the port. And when she got there, she would have her car, he would turn it over to her. So the lady sent him paperwork for the car to facilitate the clearing of the car from the port. Unfortunately for her, according to the story, when she got there, Senator Tiaje was using her car already. It's a BMW SUV. He was using her car. And when she tried to, take possession of her car, allegedly, he refused. He said the car was not hers. The car was actually his. And she took him to court. And when the judge, Kobo Nuta, when the judge wrote him, asking him to please come to court, that he had a case against him, Senator Tiaje actually wrote the judge and threatened his job. He threatened the judge. He said he evoked legislative privilege and immunity, and said the judge was disturbing the work that he was doing for the Liberian people, for his constituent. And he has, at the time, he had legislative, privilege and immunity. And if the judge writes him again, or if the judge continue on that path, he will have the Senate cite the judge for contempt of the Senate. Yes, that's what I read the communication, the letter from Senator Tiaje's office at the time. So that's what he did. So no wonder why you see he's been voted out, because the Liberian people are watching out of it. And also Senator Tiaje rather, was accused of embezzlement of, I think, a little over 700,000 of the 700,000 United States dollars of the county of the Sando County Development Funds by the GAC, the General Auditing Commission. They audited him, and two different accounts were not, balanced. They found him liable for, I think, more than 500,000, and there are another account, I think, about 200,000 or so. And we don't know whatever came out of the case. But this was the General Auditing Commission that had audited him. And at the time, he was Sando County Superintendent. So no wonder now the people of Sando County has kicked Senator Milton Tiaje from office. They don't want him there anymore because he's violated the trust. And another senator who has been kicked out of office is former senator of River G County, Komini B. Wise. Like I stated earlier, Komini Wise, quote unquote, duped himself the TRC guru or transitional justice guru at the legislature at the time. Uh, he's never served on any TRC before. He's never served on any transitional justice mechanism, whether war crimes court before, but he says he knows more about the TRC than anybody else. So Komini Wise does not support the TRC. He does not want the recommendations implemented. He's an Elling protege and agent. So he went to the House of Senate fighting the TRC. And he was one of those who signed that bogus transitional justice draft or legislation. Komini Wise today has been kicked out of the Senate after just one term. He was senator for only one term. And his first term, his first campaign was so controversial anyway. And if they had recounted the votes the first time, he would not have been senator. So yeah, Komini Wise is out. The people of Riverchi kick him out. Senator Morris Setuma of Bomi County. That's my county. Bomi County. That's where my grandfather's from. My paternal family is from Bomi County. So Senator Morris Setuma is also another one who has been kicked out of his Senate seat from Bomi County. Yes, Senator Morris Setuma is one of those who was there at the national legislature against the TRC final report and its implementation. He, of course, was one of those who signed that bogus transitional justice draft document to investigate the TRC instead of doing a job they want the TRC investigated. So he was one of those. He's one of those who is so anti-TRC. But of course, his name is in the TRC report for economic crimes. Senator Sotuman is listed in the TRC report for investigation and prosecution for economic crimes. And he worked closely with President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. I think he was at the Ministry of State. He was Deputy Minister, Legal Counsel to the President office. And when Ellen was leaving office, she supported him and he ran for senator for Bomi County and he won. But the people of Bomi have kicked him out. Yes, so bye-bye boy. And of course, the other person who has been kicked out of office is Dr. George Bole. You all know Dr. Bole is one of the warlords of Liberia. He headed the dreaded LPC fighters. When we were doing our work on the TRC, we went into all those territories under the LPC in Sino County. People show us dryer where they tie human beings and roasted them alive, LPC fighters. They committed so much atrocities against their own people in the Southeast. Dr. George Bole was the warlord for the LPC. He was the founder and head of the LPC. You can see he's standing there during the wartime with his soldiers. You see their guns and whatsoever. So the people of Grand Juda County has voted Dr. George Bole out. Dr. Bole is always attacking TRC commissioners, me and other commissioners. He insults us. In fact, I think just a year or 2 years ago, he wrote a lengthy diatribe against TRC commissioners. I was one of those he attacked personally, threatening us. He and Prince Johnson are the two warlords who are always attacking TRC commissioners for simply doing our work. So Dr. Bole is out. The people of Grand Juda County kick him out. Another person I would like to briefly state here is Councillor Fanny Sherman, only because, we're so disappointed because of the caliber of person with his education and all of that. Councillor Sherman is one of those who is anti-TRC. He hates anything TRC. In fact, he was an architect in defending Ellen Johnson Sirleaf against the TRC report and recommendations. The TRC has Ellen Johnson Sirleaf on the sanction list. And we have recommended that after her first term, she should not run for public office again. We didn't say she should quit her first term or be kicked out of office because we didn't want a disruption of the governance structure just coming from just coming from war. So the commission recommended that after Ellen's first term, she should stay out of public office because she had done enough to destroy that country. When the report came out, Councillor Sherman was one of Ellen's lawyers. In fact, he started the whole unconstitutionality about the TRC, how the TRC sanction list was unconstitutional and blah, blah, blah. You know, he's a constitutional lawyer. He knows plenty of book. He's clever more than everybody else. So Councillor Vani Sherman was one of those against the TRC. So of course, when he went to the Senate, he continued his anti-TRC advocacy that he is one of those senators who actually signed that document, the Bocas Transitional Justice document, to not implement the TRC recommendations, but to, in fact, instead investigate the TRC for doing their job. So Councillor Sherman is out. He was kicked out of the Senate by the people of Cape Mau County. But what is so interesting is that I watched a video clip 3 days ago of Councillor Sherman's press conference that he called. And he called the press conference and told the media and then also the rest of the world that he has retired, or he is retiring from politics. And it was so interesting because the journalists who were there, none of them questioned him. Yes, Councillor Sherman is retiring from politics, but before you decided to retire from politics, the people of Cape Mau County already kicked you out of your office. So you are not necessarily retiring because you were ready to retire. You were retiring now, or you are retiring now because they kick you out of the Senate. But not a single journalist asked him that question. Yes, he has the right to retire, whether they're kicking out or not, he has the right to retire. But the thing is, you only thought about retiring after they kick you out of the Senate. Not a single journalist asked Councillor Sherman, Councillor, you brought us here and you're telling us that you are retiring from politics. But sir, weren't you voted out of office by the people of Cape Mau? Didn't they kick you out? Is that also part of the reason you are retiring? Not a single journalist asked that question. Nobody did follow up. So Councillor Sherman is no longer there. So the TRC has less threat against its work. Another person, former House Speaker Buffer Chambers. Actually, it feels so good referring to this guy as former speaker. It's because Buffer Chambers did so much damage towards the potential for the implementation of the TRC's recommendations. As Speaker of the House of Representatives, when other legislators got together in 2001 and decided enough was enough, they were ready to support the TRC and they were ready to implement the recommendations. Former legislator, Representative Rostolin Swakoko Dennis, she headed the effort at the legislature pushing for the implementations of the TRC recommendations. She worked so hard. She was able to get 51 signatures out of 73 legislators, out of 73 lawmakers. This young lady was able to work across the aisle in a bipartisan manner, and she got 51 signatures, more than the 2/3 that were required. When she got the signature, they sent the document, they hand-delivered the document to Mr. Speaker at the time, Mr. Buffer Chambers, who you see here on the screen. They gave him the document, and as Speaker, he should have put the issue of the TRC's draft legislation for the war crimes code. He should have put it on the agenda, and so that they will have it on the floor of the national legislature to discuss it. But he did not. When Representative Swakoko Dennis and the rest of them took issue with him and they wanted to know why he was not bringing this TRC matter on the floor to be discussed, he told them that the document had lost. It disappeared from his office. He couldn't find it. Imagine, the Speaker of the House of Representatives said the legislation, the draft legislation that his colleagues had painstakingly put together, plus 51 signatures that they gave to him to bring on the floor so they could discuss this issue of implementing the TRC recommendations. Buffer Chambers said the document got missing from his office. He couldn't find it. Representative Swakoko Dennis went the second time, and she was able to get some signatures again. For the second time, they presented the document to the speaker so that he could put on the agenda and put on the floor, on the House floor for discussion. For the second time, Buffer Chambers said the document got missing. He could not find the document. So because of Buffer Chambers, the TRC issue literally is now hanging in the balance at the national legislature. So Buffer Chambers is against accountability. He's against justice for the people of Liberia. He's against the implementation of the TRC recommendations, and he does not want war crimes code for Liberia because he's supporting Prince Johnson. He's a strong ally of Prince Johnson, and so he did everything he could to squash the potential for the implementation of the TRC recommendations and to bring war crimes code for Liberia. Buffer Chambers, bye-bye. No tears for you, do. Bye, boy. So at this time, I would just like to, I know I spoke briefly about the just in the elections, but I wanted to say also that the two candidates that are going to be facing off in a runoff, current President George Weah and also Vice President Joseph Boyka, they need additionally to work with other parties that didn't make it to the runoff, like the CPP and the ANC of Mr. Alexander Cummings. People are mocking him all over the place about 1%, but guess what? He's going to be very crucial to any of those people who want to win. And also this mystery guy, Edward Appleton, and Lucien Camara of Alpo, Alan Brown, Councillor Tia Wongonglo, all of these people will be needed if George Weah or Joseph Boyka will win the presidency of the Republic of Liberia finally. So my next topic here is I want to look at the issue of this relationship that's gone bad between Henry Costa and the former vice president of Liberia. I'm only speaking on it because it's such a public fallout. It's everywhere, all over the place. You know, Costa is obviously, you can see that he's really hurt. His feelings is bleeding everywhere. And he's made another video recently. And in this video, you can see where people are actually saying that, you know, Henry Costa is now confessing what happened in the CPP, and he is.
When he told us that y'all know, I can't leave this.
You know, former Vice President Joseph Boyka encouraged them to destroy the CPP, and he was doing it. And he and others who destroyed the CPP did this because they were doing it in the interest of Vice President Boyka. It is such a revelation. Really, it's shocking.
CPP because I'm the chair now. It will not look good. So you're my people. You're do it for me. And we say, Uncle Joe, we will fight for you. We'll go to battle for you. We walk out of CPP for Uncle Joe. I agree. We destroy CPP. Yeah. And my people, I'm sorry. All of you, I'm sorry. The allegation is valid. I'm guilty as charged. I led the campaign to destroy CPP because I thought that if CPP remains and Joe Biden stays in, the Cummings was going to use his financial wherewithal to outmaneuver us. And he financially induced the people. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I destroyed CPP for Uncle Joe. Y'all forgive me. And then some of you just tell me, my man, forget it. My man, you man. My man, go back to your papa. Has my papa ever called me one day to say, nephew, I'm sorry? September 3rd. Me and Uncle Joe, just exchange greetings. That was the last time I chatted with him. I'm about to end this video now, folks. I didn't intend to go this route, but I just want you to understand, some of you to understand what we went through.
So, viewers,
I'm sorry I became very emotional, folks.
So, there you have it. That was
we went through a lot. It's easy when you're not in somebody's shoes.
That is Henry Costa actually spilling the bean and letting it out as to what really happened with the CPP. Many Liberians saw the CPP as their hope. Those who wanted change, those who wanted something different from the current George Weah government. The CPP was very popular. The CPP actually ushered in Senator Darius Dillon. The CPP helped Senator Yongbli Kaga Lawrence to retain her seat as a senator. But you just heard Mr. Henry Costa telling you what happened in the CPP and why. So, but let me just, I know nobody has asked my opinion on this, but let me just say something about this Henry Costa and Joe Boyka situation for now. Obviously, like I stated earlier, Henry Costa is hurt. He's hurt over the epic breakdown of his relationship, his close relationship with former Vice President Joseph Boyka. He himself said that they were very close. He referred to Ambassador Boyka as uncle. Ambassador Boyka referred to him as my nephew. And that relationship is now going down the drain. But if I was Henry Costa, I would have just given, if I had to. I mean, I'm a private person, so usually when I have a falling out with people who are very close to me, may not necessarily come public. And then also, we just don't want people in your private business like that. But Henry Costa is a different person. He seems to be a temperamental hothead. But then he has that vulnerability about him that makes him likable. A lot of people like Henry Costa. People think he acts a bit erratic sometimes. They think he's too emotional, but he has some qualities that draws people to him. He has the energy. His energy is magnetic, and he's, whatever he does, from what I've seen of his public self, he seems to give him all his all into what he's doing. And I think he really put a lot of himself into this relationship with the former vice president. And and that went bad. So I think it hurts him a lot. But my concern, again, nobody have asked me my opinion. I'm sure Henry Costa wouldn't even care. But it's just my concern because this thing has reached the public domain. It's been a public domain for a while, so I'm going to chime in. I think this relationship with Henry Costa and the former vice president is an unhealthy and dysfunctional one. And it's been like that now since early this year, I think since maybe March or April. The relationship is toxic. It's based upon mistrust now from the beginning because it was the same Henry Costa before he joined Joseph Boyka. I think Costa was the one who coined the phrase "Sleepy Joe" when he was not with Boyka at the time. And Costa used to be seen on video really insulting Vice President Joseph Boyka. He was really hard on Ambassador Boyka. That was before he joined him. So he said so many awful things about Ambassador Joseph Boyka then at the time. So when he decided to join Ambassador Boyka's team, I was one of those who was quietly saying to myself, how is he going to do this? How is he now going to sell Joseph Boyka back to the public after trashing him so poorly for years? How is he going to sell Joseph Boyka now? But he pulled it off. He pulled it off. It's only a few persons, I guess, in this world can do that. But Henry Costa came on board and he decided that he was going to support Joseph Boyka, and he owned up. One of the things I like about Henry Costa is he would be quick to own up to his flaws and his fault, just as he's owning up now on this video as per how he and others destroyed the CPP, and he's even saying, yes, I destroyed the CPP, I'm guilty of it. Costa came back and he apologized for insulting Vice President Boyka all those years, and the both of them became friends. Boyka referred to him as my favorite nephew or one of my favorite nephews, according to Costa, and Costa referred to him as Uncle Joe. They were extremely close. When the vice president came to America, he would be in the care of Costa, and Costa unveiled himself to him, and he worked very hard for the vice president. But it all fell apart, especially when the issue of who will be Boyka's running mate came about. But if I were Costa at this time, I think you've said enough. Retreat, from the public now. I don't know whether you can actually salvage all of these things you've said, but I don't think some things should have been said. For example, the medical information of people. Amen. When you're close to people, no matter what the falling out is, certain things you cannot do. Like when you're close to people and you do certain things, private things, it should be between you, come what may. Because you and people fall out today, you don't know the future. You can't just come out and just share private, very private, confidential information. People don't do that. People don't do that. So at the time, Ambassador Boyka trusted you. He saw you as his nephew. He loved you. You love him. So he trusted you with a lot of things. So coming out in the public now, talking about his private business, his medical records, people he met with, private meetings he had come on Costa, is below the belt. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to go to that level. But enough has been said. If I were you, I would stop making the videos now. I will stop calling the press conferences now. Just retreat, take a deep breath. Ambassador Boyka has the world on his shoulder. He's trying to win this presidency. Good luck to him. But give us some time. These are turbulent times with these elections. People are overwhelmed. People are impatient. People don't know who to trust. So give us some time, Costa. Retrieve. Stop all that plenty talking because you're beginning to sound like a whinger now. It's like you whinging now. It's like you complaining, playing the victim. Yes, some things happen according to what you explain. If what you explain is all correct, some things happen that shouldn't have happened to you. Uh, they didn't show you gratitude. You worked very hard. You put all your all into everything, but life happens like that sometimes. But also, that is not the end of life. You're a young man. You're energetic. You articulate, and you seem to have the gift of God. So, Henry Costa, you're not even 40 years old. You got the whole world ahead of you, and with your energy, with your natural smarts, and with your charisma, you can do great things and wonderful things. The way you're going, I wouldn't advise you to continue. If you are violating all issues of trust, you are violating confidentiality. It's like there's no confidentiality in this relationship. Every single thing you did with Ambassador Boyka, you're going to spill it out in the public. Come on, I mean, how can you do that? So even if you and him repair this relationship, are you guys still going to be suspicious of each other quietly behind the scene because of the extent of the fallout? Sometimes people fall out. It's not the falling out, but it's the way, they fall out. So I think you should stop talking now, stop making the rounds, stop making the videos. You've talked enough, you said enough. And, Ambassador Boyka's medical records is his private business. In this country, there's something called HIPAA. You can't discuss people's medical records if you're not the power of attorney or the the spokesperson, the medical spokesperson. You can't do that. I don't like the portion where you just talk all this man private business, his medical records, no custard. Enough has been said. Retrieve and take a deep breath, recalibrate, and the world is waiting for you. At this point in time, I wish Henry Costa and former Vice President Boyka well. I hope they'll be able to mend their relationship and put all of this behind them. But enough has been said. So at this time, I would like to leave you, my viewing audience, with this feel good story. It's a feel good story, but then it's a little bit sad. It has some sadness to it, but it's the overall theme. So there's a story about this dog called Eclipse that I found on the internet. I'm an ardent animal lover. I love animals so much. And when during my spare time, it's like when I leave work or on weekends when I'm not busy, I will just surf the internet looking for funny animal videos or whatsoever. So there's this dog called Eclipse. So Eclipse is a dog who gained notoriety for riding Seattle, the city of Seattle city bus alone. She used to ride the bus alone. So she died on Friday, last Friday. And according to her owner, she was 10 years old. Eclipse had her own Facebook page, of course, that was run by her owner. She's such a celebrity. So I went on her Facebook page and I saw all of this there and I extended my condolences. So the story goes that the big red bus with 3 doors had been a fixture rather of Eclipse daily routine for years. Her owner, Jeff Young, told the USA newspaper today. Several green and yellow buses stopped right outside of Young's apartment, but Eclipse knew to take the red one to the dog park. So there were several buses that would stop in front of the apartment complex, but she only took the red bus because the red bus went straight, it passed the route to the dog park. And Eclipse used to get on the bus, and when it gets to she would sit there. You'll see her sitting. You'll see her sitting in the bus, and she's looking out the window. She's sitting in the bus looking out the window, so she can't miss her stop. She knew every stop. She knew her stop. So even when passengers, the story goes that Even when passengers board the bus and they're trying to pet her and talk to her and be friendly, she will be friendly with them, but she keep looking out the window because she doesn't want to miss her stop. So Eclipse would get on our red bus and she would sit to the window and she would be looking out the window. And when she was approaching the dog park, the people have the park for dogs where dogs will go to play. When the bus is approaching the dog park, she would get down and run to the door, and the bus driver would open the door for her, and she would run. She knew how to cross the street, and she would go to the park and play for as long as she wanted to play. And when she was done playing, she would go to the bus stop, wait for the bus, hop on the same red bus, and go home because the bus would stop right in front of her apartment complex. She would go home, and she did that for almost 10 years of her life. So Eclipse, the smart dog, the genius dog, passed away last Friday in Seattle, and her death and her passing is making the news on social media. Is going viral. So may peace be to Eclipse. May she go to dog heaven, and may the Lord have mercy upon her and receive her soul. So, ladies and gentlemen, everybody, we have come to the end of our show for today. This is the second episode of the Master Washington Show. I hope I was able to provide you with some needed information. And also, I hope I was able to provide you with some entertainment with the human interest story with the dog, Eclipse. Thank you for watching. Please give us your comments. Let us know how we're doing. There's always room for improvement. Thank you so much for those of you who watched the show last week. Thank you for your comments. And I'm taking them, I'm reviewing all of the comments, and I will take some into consideration. Thank you so much. This is Master Washington. Bye-bye.